I'm not gonna lie, this video is kind of a difficult one for me because this is something I struggle with quite a bit. Maybe you can relate. I am very much that type A person who thrives off getting things checked off the to-do list. Sometimes even to the point where I'll skip lunch or trade my relaxing time to get a few things extra checked off that list. But recently I have adopted the practice of slow productivity, and today I'm sharing why you should too. If you're new here, my name is Kat. I love all things Notion, productivity, and everyday life things. If that sounds like you too, let's be internet besties. Click that subscribe button and join the community. Now today's topic is really important to me because I love productivity, and it is something that I have talked about before on my channel, whether it be in my Notion videos or some of my vlogs. But I do not want to give you the impression that doing more or doing it better is always the best thing or a good thing to do. I want you to be both successful and healthy, and I'm hoping today's video encourages you in that way. All right, so what is slow productivity? I first heard the term slow productivity from Cal Newport, and if you haven't seen his video all about slow productivity, I highly recommend that you go check that out real quick. I will link it down in the description so you can see. But as a summary, he chats about how we got to the current productivity climate, if you want to call it that, as a society, what productivity might have looked like for our ancestors. Most importantly, he defines slow productivity, and he says it's these three things: doing less things, doing those things at a natural pace, and obsessing over the quality of those things. Now, as a type A person, I completely disagree with the term obsess here because for me that has just never been healthy. I feel like this can lead to procrastination or other unhealthy habits. So if it were me, I would change the third one to just doing high quality things. The biggest catalyst for me in switching to slow productivity was getting my minerals tested. For those that may not know, last November I got some mineral testing done, and those results came back and said that I was severely depleted in almost all my minerals. One of the biggest causes of this is stress and burnout. The way this works is that when your body is stressed, you're producing adrenaline and cortisol, and both of those take a lot of energy to produce. When we're chronically stressed like that, we're just burning through those energy stores until there's nothing left and you're running on empty. I was honestly shocked that burnout had such a big impact in your body. Like, I figured there was like all the mental things associated with it, but the bodily portion I was just surprised at. And that really forced me to step back and look at the way I was living life and evaluate whether or not this was healthy and sustainable for me. While there were definitely some physical and external stressors going on in my life, doing this little evaluation made me realize that I had some sort of productivity addiction. Yes, this is a real thing. The Harvard Business Review explains it like this: your brain releases dopamine when you achieve goals, and since dopamine improves attention, memory, and motivation, even achieving a small goal can result in a positive feedback loop that makes you more motivated to work harder going forward. And this is great. Using that little dopamine hit to get things done is not necessarily a bad thing until you start expecting that feeling or chasing that feeling, or in my case, just deciding whether or not you had a good day based on how you felt from getting things done. Psychology Today says, the brain can become addicted to productivity just as it can to more familiar sources of addiction. A person might crave the recognition their work gives them or the salary increases they get. Now, I wouldn't say I was a full-blown productivity addict, but as I mentioned earlier, I would often trade my lunch or trade my relaxing time just to get a couple more things checked off my to-do list. And honestly, I think so much of this is a societal pressure to do more. Sure, there's internal pressure, but increasing your productivity is talked about everywhere. Before I film my videos, I always do a little bit of research on the topic that I'm going to talk about, and when I was researching for this video, I found a lot of other videos that were titled something like how to use stress to maximize productivity, or how to reduce stress and increase productivity. And while those don't sound bad on the surface, they're all focusing on how increasing your productivity reduces your stress. But guys, what if this culture of productivity is the source of all our stress? In my experience, doing more is always related to higher stress. The more you do, the more you stress. And this brings us back to our topic of slow productivity. Remember, doing less things. Now, obviously, I don't hate productivity. I love it. And this is a productivity video after all. I believe work is good and necessary. And to get theological for a minute, We see this in Ecclesiastes, where it says, "There is nothing better for a person to enjoy their work," and with the Proverbs 31 woman who sets about her work vigorously. Incorporating slow productivity into your life is more about finding a balance in all the aspects of your life and being intentional about the things that you do. So here's a few things that you can do to slow down and be more intentional. First, find an activity that feeds your soul that you can include in your day. This has been a really important piece for me because not only does it help me slow down, but it also gives me something else to look forward to that's not work. I've been loving going on walks with my husband and the dogs in the afternoon, or doing my morning check-in on the porch, because being in nature is very grounding and relaxing. Maybe for you this is meditation or exercise, or doing a hobby that you enjoy. Just be sure to pick an activity that is restful and satisfying and is outside of your work routine so that you can find meaning outside of your to-do list. Another thing you can do is include breaks in your daily schedule. This is where doing things at a natural pace comes in. Breaks are necessary. It is not natural for us to sit at a desk all day and have a little to no movement. One thing that is non-negotiable for me now is making sure I stop for lunch or snacks, and then also making sure that I take a short stroll or do some physical activity during the day. On days I work from home, I've started kind of incorporating some cleaning tasks into my schedule so that I have some time to sit down and work and then get up and move around a little bit. On days I go into the office, I make sure to check the mail or take a walk around the building every once in a while just to make sure that I'm up and moving and not sitting all day. Plus, making sure that I have enough fuel for my body to nourish it throughout the day is a must. Without these things, I become easily exhausted, drained, and way more distractible. So maybe for you, this looks like scheduling more breaks into your day or being sure that you're actually taking lunch. But whatever it might be, just make sure that you're setting those boundaries to make sure those things happen. Thirdly, you can update your planning routine. This is probably one of the biggest changes I've made personally, and it is the entire reason why I created the productivity planner in the first place. If you're curious what that looks like, you can check it out in my 2023 Notion tour. I just needed a system that was automated and intuitive and it would let me plan once per week and then let everything else in my brain go. Because I honestly think one of the biggest sources of the stress was holding all the things in my head that I was. If this sounds like something you need to, be sure to check out my Etsy shop so you can grab the productivity planner for yourself. I'll leave the link for you in the description. When I started implementing this new planning system, the first thing I did was decide what in my schedule was negotiable and what wasn't. For me, the only two things that I found in my schedule that were non-negotiable was my Sunday meal prep and my weekly reset. If you're wondering what that consists of, be sure to check out my weekly reset vlog. When I skip either of these two items, my entire week is completely thrown off. So I chose to start prioritizing those items because they not only keep me sane, but they keep my week running smoothly and keep me very focused. Now, sure, I do have non-negotiable tasks that come up every once in a while when there's a deadline, but other than that, everything else in my week feels pretty negotiable in terms of like when I'm doing them. This allows me to give myself some grace and not overwork myself trying to get all those things done. But I also don't necessarily want to just continue putting tasks off because I may or may not feel like doing them. That is certainly not the goal here. So the second planning thing that I changed was being more realistic about what I can do in a day. As an optimist, I always think that I can do more in the time that I have than I actually can. So often I was packing my day full and just hoping for the best. But that led to a lot of unfinished tasks and those make me stressed. So again, this is where that idea of doing less things comes in. But I can also work on doing things at a higher quality because I'm not doing as much and I'm not just scrambling to get to the next task. To help me be a little bit more realistic about what I could do, I started time blocking my days. And more specifically, I would time block periods of shallow work and deep work. I usually give myself about one deep work task per time block, and then maybe 2 to 3 shallow tasks per time block, depending on what those tasks are. That way I can easily knock those things out and not be carrying them over. However, when I do happen to overcommit myself, I give myself some grace and I end up just rescheduling that lowest priority item on the list. Slowing down and being productive intentionally is truly an art. It takes time to master it. So don't be hard on yourself if you find it difficult, because Trust me, I am right there with you. I'm still learning and trying to work on this every single day. Well, my neighbor started mowing the lawn, so I guess that's my sign to be done here. I do plan to do more videos around the topic of slow productivity, so be sure to give this video a like if that is something that you're interested in. I'm wishing you all the best and lots of love. I will see you so soon. Bye guys.